They hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster.
Arnold, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
So being from Europe, I have seen firsthand how things can spin out of control. I know there is a fear in this country and all over the world that something like this could happen right here.
Ever wondered what it's like to grow up in post-World War II Austria? Well, buckle up, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is about to take us on a wild ride down memory lane. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. From Nazi dads to American dreams, Arnie's got a story that'll make your jaw drop. And trust me, by the end of it, you'll never look at Trump or democracy the same way again. Remember when Arnold's biggest enemy was a liquid metal robot? Well, now he's got his sights set on an orange one. Yep, our favorite Austrian oak has gone from terminating bad guys on screen to terminating bad ideas in politics. Talk about a plot twist. So, how did Arnie go from flexing his muscles to flexing his political muscles? It's been quite the journey. First, he was the governor of California, and now he's become the commentator-in-chief.
You famously said that the Republican Party has a problem at the box office. I heard you equate the GOP with the Titanic. Explain.
The reason why I said it was because their policies were such that they were not really including everybody. And we were losing them because we were not addressing those issues. So I was telling them, I said, look, the way you're going, being so healthcare reform and being so anti-environment and stuff like this, we are losing and we are dying at the box office.
But not everyone's thrilled about his new role, especially his own Republican Party. They're probably wishing he'd stick to saying, "I'll be back," instead of, "I'll be fact-checking." Schwarzenegger's been giving his fellow Republicans the stink eye for a while now, especially when it comes to Trump's shenanigans. He's so disappointed in them, he's basically calling them a bunch of spineless jellyfish. Ouch! That's gotta hurt more than getting punched by the Predator. But here's where things get really interesting. Arnie's not just throwing punches from the cheap seats. He's got some serious personal experience with political extremism. Growing up in post-war Austria, he saw firsthand what happens when people buy into dangerous ideologies.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. Very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
Imagine little Arnold pumping iron in his backyard, while his neighbors were ex-Nazis trying to pump up their failed ideology. Talk about a weird childhood, but it gave him a unique perspective on what's happening in America today. In his viral video, Schwarzenegger didn't pull any punches. He compared the Capitol riots to Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass in Nazi Germany. He said Wednesday was the day of broken glass right here in the United States. Pretty heavy stuff from the guy who once fought a predator with his bare hands.
The only thing is that we don't have to go under completely. We don't have to wait for that moment. Let's change and let's go and be more open and go back to this kind of like a big tent idea of Ronald Reagan. And I think this is why we have helped it to some extent here in California with getting rid of gerrymandering and to do redistricting reform and to have open primaries.
Independents are about to overtake Republicans in California. What can California do differently?
I think independents are going to take over the Republicans, are going to take over the Democrats also.
But Arnie's not just pointing out problems, he's offering solutions too. He's calling for unity and reminding everyone that democracy is like the sword he wielded in Conan the Barbarian. The more it's tempered, the stronger it gets. Who knew that old prop would come in handy for a civics lesson? From Terminator to political commentator, from action hero to democracy's champion, Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey has been anything but predictable. But one thing's for sure, he's not afraid to call it like he sees it, even if it means going against his own party. And in these crazy times, maybe that's exactly the kind of voice we need. Looks like Arnold's not just flexing his muscles these days, he's flexing his political opinions too. And boy, is he giving Trump a workout. The governor's gone from terminating bad guys on screen to terminating bad presidents in real life.
His trip this year to Auschwitz, which was the first time he'd been there. Remember, his father was a Nazi. And he talked about anti-Semitism. We talked about a feud he had in the 90s with Sylvester Stallone. There's a lot there.
Feels like it's close enough to Friday already.
Yeah,
after the week
who knows what day it is.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
It's working. There's our promo coming up Friday night at 10:30. Hope people can watch.
Absolutely. All right.
And so all of that is coming up tomorrow night on The Issue Is at 10:30, or Friday night at 10:30 on The Issue Is.
Who knew his most epic battle would be against a guy with a weird hairdo and an even weirder Twitter habit? Arnold's not pulling any punches when it comes to the Capitol riots. He's comparing it to Kristallnacht, which is basically Nazi Germany's "oops, we broke some stuff" moment. Talk about a heavy comparison. But Arnie's not just throwing around big words to sound smart. He's got some personal experience with this stuff growing up in post-war Austria. Guess he knows a thing or two about what happens when democracy takes a nosedive.
What do you think about Donald Trump running for president again?
You know, I think that's the past. And I think that we have to march into the future. And I think there are very talented people in this country on the Republican side that can run. So I would go, look in the future rather than in a rear mirror.
But wait, there's more. Arnold's not just mad about the riots. He's got a bone to pick with the big cheese himself. He's calling Trump the worst president ever. Ouch. That's gotta hurt more than a predator punch to the face. I bet Trump's ego is more bruised than his spray tan right now. You'd think Trump would come back swinging, right? But so far, it's been crickets from the Mar-a-Lago man. Maybe he's too busy playing golf, or planning his next reality TV show, or maybe he's just scared of getting into a Twitter war with a guy who once fought a robot from the future. Smart move, Donnie. But here's the thing, Arnold's not just here to drop sick burns and make Trump cry into his Big Mac. He's got a message for all of us regular folks too. He's talking about how democracy is like his muscles. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. So maybe instead of binge watching Netflix, we should be binge participating in our democracy. Just a thought. Arnold's message is crystal clear. Support democracy, not wannabe dictators who throw tantrums when they lose. It's like he's giving America a political pep talk, flexing those democracy muscles instead of his biceps for once. And just when you think he's done, he drops the mic with a promise that would make any Terminator fan grin. I'll be back to vote for democracy. Who'd have thought the guy who once played a killer robot would become such a champion for American values? It's like he's gone from hasta la vista, baby, to hello voter responsibility. Talk about a plot twist, folks. Schwarzenegger's gone from crushing bad guys on screen to crushing bad politics in real life. Now that's what I call a sequel worth watching.